What is up, everybody? We're back here at King Film Sports for the NFL Week 17 game picks and predictions. Here we have a massive slate of football here in the penultimate week of the regular season. Be sure to check out my playoff picture analysis breakdown video in both conferences, breaking down all of the scenarios and then giving my predictions for the next 2 weeks. But first, here we get to the recap of Week 16. And man, this was an interesting week. Had some thrilling games once again and some big games in terms of ramifications for the playoff picture. And the thing that I'm stressing here is that only 4 underdogs covered the entire week. That is just absolutely brutal. Usually these underdogs will outpace the favorites in terms of winning percentage. Usually the favorite will be the more square or public side. The professionals will be on more of the underdogs, which is kind of the strategy that I embraced. Some of these lines are a little inflated, but that did not work, especially early in the week. Had that Thursday night game, Broncos +3. They're up big early. Then the Chargers get the free kick touchdown, and that's only a thing because the Broncos run into the return man. Then they have some big penalties in the second half, hitting Justin Herbert as he's sliding down. Then the Chargers get a touchdown off of that drive, and then ultimately the Chargers win by 7, complete the big comeback. Broncos big-time choke job, and now playoff seeding not looking certain here. They definitely have to win one of these next 2 games. Then we got to the Saturday slate, took the dogs once again, and got murdered here as the Texans +3.5. They should have definitely covered this game, in my opinion. They should have tied the game after that Tank Dell touchdown with the gruesome leg injury, but then Fairbairn misses the extra point, and then that offense was just never good the rest of the game, and Mahomes looked great on that ankle, which I did not expect either, so the Chiefs won by 8 in that one. Then the Steelers-Ravens game. Steelers were in it early, had a good chance to go up, but then Russell Wilson fumbles on the 4-yard line as he's trying to go into the end zone. That was just brutal. Steelers really would have needed that. Then Russ throws a pick 6 late to seal it for the Ravens. 17-point victory, and that also screwed the under there, under 45. Thought it was going to be a hard-hitting matchup, which it was, but the red zone efficiency for both of these teams and then a couple unlucky turnovers leading to points there led to the over. So really brutal start to the week, but we did make up for it on Sunday here, as you will see. So in this Cardinals-Panthers game, we had the Panthers plus the 4 points, and apparently some late money came in on this Arizona team because the line steamed up to Arizona -6. They really needed this one for their playoff seeding, but the Panthers were in it all game. Bryce Young, another great game, and then Kyler Murray, he just did not look right in this matchup, even against a subpar Panthers defense. They were able to go over the total there, but the Panthers just worked up a big lead in the first half. Cardinals were coming back all game, hit a big field goal late to force it to overtime, but ultimately the Panthers got it done there, and the Cardinals are eliminated from playoff seeding, so we hit the Panthers spread and the over. Then this was a very frustrating one. Jets and the Rams, and the Jets are up 9-6 in this third quarter, and then they end up losing this game outright. If you look at all of the post-game win expectancy and yards, it's all even here, but unfortunately the Jets just on the wrong side of it there end up losing by 10. I mean, that's just the season from hell here for the Jets, and the Rams continue to get lucky here and now looking really good to lock up the NFC West there. Then we had the Bengals-Browns under, and this one was never really a sweat. I mean, we started out early in the game when the Browns actually work into Bengal territory. I think they're on the 1-yard line and maybe fumble, turn it over there, and that was just the story of the day under DTR and the Browns. If you're asking me, I definitely think the Browns should play Jameis Winston if they want to be the most competitive, but maybe they're just trying to tank here. So that was just an easy win for the Bengals. Maybe got a little lucky in terms of turnovers there, but wasn't really in doubt. Then we had the Patriots plus the 14.5 against the Bills here. And I looked like a genius early as the Patriots take a 14-0 lead in Buffalo. Then we skip forward to the fourth quarter where the Bills have a 10-point lead and have the ball. So we're just sweating to keep it in play there. But then the Patriots do get a late touchdown, cut it to 24-21. But this was just entirely predictable from my perspective. Do not sell all your stock in the Bills. This was just an inflated spread because their offense had looked great the last couple of weeks, but I'm saying that their defense is very overrated. They let up 44 to the Rams, 42 to the Lions, so definitely look in terms of that. I think they'll be playing some more shootout games here, and that was just kind of an ugly spot, but they do get the win, which is most important for them. Then the Sunday night game, finally got another underdog to hit as we got the Cowboys plus the 4 points against the Bucs. And Cooper Rush in this offense, I don't know how much of it is the Tampa Bay defense being bad, but the Cowboys offense really looked good, especially in that first half there. Also does help when you have Brandon Aubrey just automatically draining those 50-yard plus field goals in that matchup. But the Cowboys defense also played pretty well. I think it just kind of exposed this Buccaneers team as a little bit overrated. Baker did not play his best game. I thought that the Bucs offense in total could have been better there, but the Cowboys do end up winning outright by 2 points there. So we kind of did salvage the week there after a very tough start with a good Sunday performance. So now we get into the Week 17 locks and game predictions here, and the Christmas Day doubleheader, which will be huge in terms of playoffs, as the Chiefs, if they win this game, they will lock up the number 1 seed. If the Steelers win this game, it'll be huge for their AFC North title odds as they will retain the number 1 spot. In this one, I'm taking the over 44 points here. This one is going to come down to, in my opinion, if the Chiefs have Chris Jones, that great interior defensive lineman, because if they don't have him, I think that the Steelers probably will be able to run the ball all over them, control time of possession. But if he is in, then I think that Russell Wilson will have to be great in the pocket and have to make some great plays. George Pickens will be back for the Steelers. I really like that one for their offense. And the Chiefs secondary hasn't been all that good there. Before Tank Dell went out, they were really getting carved up by C.J. Stroud. So I think this is a bounce back performance from Russell Wilson. And this Chiefs offense, Patrick Mahomes was clearly not hindered by that ankle injury. And then you have Hollywood Brown coming back into the lineup for them. So I just see this as a time in which they can kind of expose the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense had been great all year, but then the last couple of weeks, the Eagles and Ravens were able to run all over them. I mean, I'm just watching it last week and it seemed like no one wanted to hit Derrick Henry. Maybe Tomlin inspires his guys coming into this one, but I do think that the Chiefs will have some success on the ground. And I think Mahomes will be good through the air as well. So I really like the over 44 in Pittsburgh there early. And as for my game prediction, I really do not know. I'll take the Chiefs really close. The spread is currently 3 points in that one. I do think it comes down to Chris Jones and his availability in that matchup, but give me the Chiefs close. I think that's a really good game. Then we get to the Ravens-Texans. I like the Ravens here to win this game. Houston a little banged up, but more importantly for the lock, give us the under 47 points here. This is a Houston team that has come out guns blazing in the first half of a lot of these games and then faded in the second half. We saw that exact same thing transpire in Kansas City last week. And this Ravens team, they're just playing to win the game. They're playing to improve that playoff seeding and win the AFC North here. So I just think that they'll embrace a run-heavy game script against the Houston defense that's pretty banged up. And I do think that Stroud probably will put up some numbers because they'll be down early in this game. But I just see it going under the total there. Also, I don't know how much Houston offense is going to be able to run it against Baltimore with Joe Mixon. They kind of had some success last week against Kansas City, but if the Ravens know that's all that Houston has, then could be pretty one-dimensional there for the Texans offense. So I really do like the under 47 there. Then we get to the Thursday game, Seahawks at the Bears. Seahawks absolutely need this one for their NFC West title odds, and I do think that they will win this one, but this would just be a classic Bears spot where they do regress and play a great game here and shock this Seattle team. But Seattle's been very good. They've made a living off of beating these bad teams, and yes, the Bears, their last, I think, 6 or 7 weeks, they've just played a gauntlet, so this is a bit of an easier matchup for them here. Also interesting, the forecast looks to be some rain in this matchup, so we'll see if Geno Smith or Caleb Williams will fare better in that one. But this Bears team, I mean, they just quit last week against Detroit and the previous week against Minnesota, even the previous week before that against the Niners. So maybe they come to play in this one. There's just no way that I can predict that. So give me Seattle to win that there. Then we get to the Saturday slate. We got the Chargers at the Patriots. Very interesting one as the books are pricing in the Patriots having a similar effort that they did against the Bills. The spread for this one's only 4 points, but give me the Chargers to win this game. I do like the fight that the Patriots have showed. Gerard Mayo is getting the nod to be their head coach once again in 2025 there, so maybe that inspired some confidence for the team. Drake May, I think he's pretty competitive, so I do like this quarterback matchup between these two teams here. I think it'll be a bit of a dogfight. Chargers, though, coming off of some extra rest, whereas the Patriots playing on a short week. Don't love that dynamic, but Chargers are flying across the country there. But I do think that they will be able to run it down New England and get that victory there, however close it may be. Then we get to a very interesting one in terms of the playoff picture in the AFC. Broncos can lock up their spot with a win here, but they are 3.5 point underdogs depending on where you look. Give me Cincinnati to win this game. As I mentioned in the playoff picture video, the Bengals have had so many spots like this where they can really improve their playoff seeding in these big games, and they've never been able to do it this year. But I just think this Broncos team, it got a little exposed last week against the Chargers. Maybe that defense isn't as good as we thought, and this Bengals offense has been playing great thus far this season. I do worry a little bit for the Cincinnati O-line, but if they can protect Joe Burrow for just a couple seconds, I think that Jamar Chase and some of those receivers will go off against this Denver defense. And then on the other side, I mean, I think that Bo Nix will probably have to put up 30-plus if he wants his Broncos team to win this game. So maybe look at an over potentially here, depending on the weather in that matchup. I do think that it will be high-flying between these two teams. But in that style of game, I really like this Cincinnati team to win there and extend their playoff hopes just another week. Then we get to the nightcap here, and we've got the Cardinals and the Rams. We thought this one would be an NFC West battle for the playoffs, and it is from the Rams' perspective. Cardinals unfortunately eliminated, but I still like them plus the 7 points here. I know there was a report that the Cardinals, there's kind of a mutiny in the locker room, their flight back, no one was talking. I'm not really sure how to treat that, but just from a numerical perspective, you're giving me 7 points between these two divisional teams. Remember, week 2, this game was over by the early third quarter here. I think the Cardinals were up like 30 points over this Rams team. Yes, it was at home, and the Rams were a little banged up at that matchup, but I see these two teams around equivalent. Yes, the Rams may be slightly better with some of those weapons on offense, but they really did not play well in New York last week. Now coming back on a short week, I just do not love the dynamics for them in this matchup, and I think that this Cardinals team, maybe they'll play a bit looser here. Kyler will play with nothing to lose. I know that James Conner might be out in this matchup, but I still really like him against this Rams defense in some of those scrambles. So I do think that the Cardinals keep it really competitive here. I think they could potentially win outright in this matchup here, just between two evenly matched teams in SoFi on Saturday night. So I really love the Cardinals, plus the 7 points there. I do not care that they are out of the playoffs. I think they fight hard in that one. Then we get to the Sunday slate, and a really ugly one to start out. We have the Colts at the Giants here. Give us the Giants plus the 8 points here. The Colts got up big on that Titans team. I think they were up 38-7, and then they almost choke it 38-30 here. You just cannot trust Anthony Richardson, let me tell you the truth. And I think that the Giants will clog the run game for this Colts team. And really, from the Giants' perspective, I thought they played pretty well last week against the Falcons. It was just the 2 Drew Lock pick sixes that were absolutely brutal there. If you take those out, then that game was actually pretty close. And the Colts, I just do not believe in Anthony Richardson blowing a team out here. Yes, he can make some plays on the ground game, but I do think that this Giants defense will show a little bit of fight here at home in this matchup here. So I do think that it'll be a little bit more competitive than people think. I don't even know who's starting at quarterback for the Giants, but this is just a great situational spot for a Colts team that is overvalued at this current spread. So I love the Giants plus the 8 points there. Then we're taking the other New York team, Jets plus the 11 on the road against the Bills here. I do think that the Bills will play better than they did last week against New England at home, but that does not warrant this spread against this Jets team, who I say again has not quit on the season. Aaron Rodgers definitely wants to be a starting quarterback in this league for some team next year, even if it's not the Jets. So he will play very well. Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, these guys have not quit on the season. And that defense played pretty well against the Rams last week here. There's always going to be some coaching mismanagement with Jeff Ulbrich, their interim head coach. But I just think that this is way too many points for this Jets team in this matchup. 11 points here. Remember earlier this season when they played on Monday Night Football, that was a really close game. Came down to the wire. Jets ended up losing by 3. Has so much changed in this matchup since then. Maybe the public perception of Josh Allen being the MVP, but he didn't even play well last week against the Patriots. So I think that the Bills play a little bit better here, but the Jets make it really competitive here. Give me them plus the 11 points. Then we get to the Titans at the Jaguars. 2, 3, and 12 teams. This one should be a pretty bad game to watch. Not many people will watch it at all. But our first teaser of the season, I like the Titans to win outright. So I like them at +1 or take them on the money line. But I also like them as a teaser leg, plus the 7.5 points here. I just do not think that the Jags can blow anybody out. Mac Jones and this offense are absolutely horrible. They lost last week in Las Vegas here, and I do think that the Titans will come back for some revenge. Remember, they got that game stolen from them in Tennessee a few weeks ago against this Jags team. So I do think that with Mason Rudolph, they showed a lot of fight in that second half against the Colts. I think that they will play well in Jacksonville here, make it close, and win this game outright as well. So I love that teaser like plus 7.5. We will pair that with another game coming down the stretch here for the slate. Then we get to the Raiders at the Saints. Not a lot to say here. This could be a good teaser leg if you feel strongly about either side. I really don't. I think that this Raiders team probably wins it. Saints coming off of a short week here. Maybe they bounce back and play really well, but that was just such a bad performance on Monday night. I cannot pick them to win this game here, especially without Alvin Kamara. I just think that this Raiders team is slightly better with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback than the Saints with Spencer Rattler. Then we get this NFC South matchup, Panthers at the Bucs. Give me the Panthers plus the 8 points. They've been so good as an underdog in these past few weeks. Obviously got crushed against the Cowboys when they were favored in that matchup, but I think a few weeks ago against this Tampa Bay team, they played really well at home there. It was a miracle for the Bucs to even get it to overtime in that matchup. Then Chuba Hubbard fumbles in overtime. Bucs get a lucky win there. I do think that the Bucs will bounce back here at home after that tough Sunday night performance here. But does that warrant an 8-point spread? I mean, the Panthers literally beat the Cardinals at home last week in that matchup, so they show that they are a competitive team. The defense does worry me a little bit, but I do think that Bryce Young will be able to carve up this Tampa Bay defense. So maybe a little bit of a shootout here, maybe 31-24 in that matchup, and the backdoor will be open the entire time. So I love the Panthers above a touchdown there. Then we get to this Cowboys-Eagles game. I do not know if Jalen Hurts is going to play, obviously coming off the concussion. I'm really worried for the Eagles if he's not able to play because Kenny Pickett, I think he's just a turnover machine, and the Cowboys defense will really try hard in that matchup. So Kenny Pickett, if he goes for the Eagles, I think that the Cowboys are a live dog to win outright. But if the Eagles do have Jalen Hurts, they will roll over this Cowboys team here. It's always going to be a big rivalry matchup for these two teams, but I do think that Cooper Rush may be a little overvalued right now, and I do think that the Eagles defense, although they got 5 turnovers over the Commanders last week, they didn't play well down the stretch, let up the touchdown with 6 seconds left to Jaden Daniels in that Commanders offense. So I do think that they'll play a lot better in this matchup, potentially a low-scoring matchup here. Give me Philadelphia to win at home to keep their number 1 seed hopes alive. Then we get to this Dolphins at Browns matchup in the afternoon slate, and I will take the Dolphins to win this game. In the playoff picture video, I did have the Browns winning in this matchup. I don't know who's going to play quarterback. I heard that DTR is injured, so Jameis Winston could potentially play. If he plays, I love this Browns team, especially plus the 6.5 or plus 7 points, whatever you're giving me there. This Dolphins team just has showed that they cannot go into tough conditions, into the inclement weather, and get this one done. The forecast for this matchup is around 40 degrees, but it will be raining here, so I just do not trust this Dolphins offense. They were a little fraudulent last week as well. I know that Tyreek Hill had some drops, but they were not great other than that. I just think that the Niners defense kind of gave up late in that matchup. So I do think that the Dolphins win close here if it's DTR, but if Jameis Winston plays, I really like the Browns in a potential upset spot there. Then we get to the one that everyone has been waiting for, the 11-4 Packers traveling to Minnesota. The Vikings at 13-2 there, trying to keep their NFC North hopes alive. And this is the second leg of the teaser. We're taking the Packers plus 7.5. I think that the Packers win outright here. But regardless, I think that it's going to be a really close game, come down to a field goal late between these two teams. And Minnesota has made a living off of those type of games. They've won so many one-possession games here. Sam Darnold has really been good. I mean, just exemplified it last week with that late touchdown drive and great throw to Justin Jefferson down that left side to get the win in Seattle here. But Packers, even though off a short week, I just love the way they're playing right now. I think they avenged that loss earlier this season against Minnesota at home here. I know it's a very tough place to play, so I like this little cushion that we're getting, plus 7.5 here. Regardless, I do think it's a very close game there. So let me know in the comments what you do think of that teaser, but I do think that Jordan Love will get it done down the stretch for this Packers team to win outright. Then we get to a great Sunday night football matchup and big for NFC wildcard implications. Falcons at Commanders here. Give me the Falcons plus the 4 points. I think that Michael Penix was decent last week. Kyle Pitts did him dirty with a drop that turned into an interception at the goal line there. But other than that, I thought he was pretty good, and they've always got Bijan Robinson to lean on, and I just really do not trust this Commanders defense at all here. So maybe a little bit of a shootout between these two rookies in primetime here. Jaden Daniels going against this Falcons defense. We know that he's turnover prone after the 5 turnovers last week, so maybe he throws up a couple bones and the Falcons are able to capitalize here. I just think that 4 is too many in this primetime matchup. If you can get 4.5, I especially love that one. I think this is going to be a really close game on primetime. Then we get to the Monday Night Football matchup. This was probably one of the matchups of the season before the year. NFC Championship rematch. Obviously now the Niners at 6-9, so it loses some of its luster, but people will still be watching because the Lions and their playoff positioning. In this one, I'm taking the Niners plus the 4.5 points here. I know that they looked really bad against Miami, but you look at some of the performances other than that in this season, I think that they've gotten pretty unlucky in some of these games here. Yes, they are battered with injuries, but I think that defense is a little more healthy than it's actually been at some points of the season. The offensive line does really worry me, but doesn't worry me as much when I'm considering the defensive injuries on the Lions side. So I do think that Brock Purdy, although he played really bad last week and against the Rams, I think that this is going to be a great game for him. Kyle Shanahan will dial up a great game script here on primetime here. So I do like the Niners to get potentially 24 plus points here. And the Lions offense without David Montgomery, I'm not sure how well they're going to be able to move it against this Niners defense who's gotten a little more healthy here. So I do think that the Lions potentially win by a field goal in this matchup. Maybe the Niners can squeak out an upset here. Definitely seeing a lot of points in that primetime matchup though, and I do think that the Niners keep it close there. Brock Purdy plays a much better game in that one. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below of my predictions and betting locks. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.